Ducks forward Max Comtois and his organization have agreed to mutually part ways, and he made it kind of clear that Montreal is one of his preferred destinations. We'll be talking about that, plus Habs legend Tomas Plekanec continues to play in the Czech League as he signs an extension at the age of 41. And finally, we're going to top it off with the single most ridiculous article about Carey Price that maybe we've ever seen, so you'll want to stick around for this edition of Habs Digest. And the first thing we're talking about is, of course, could the Habs sign Max Comtois? I mean, this is an interesting thing, Jesse. Of course, we heard recently that Max Comtois and the Ducks just couldn't come to an agreement for injury reasons, for various other reasons that we might get into in this video. They decided that there's no future between the two. But Comtois doesn't hide that Montreal would be a preferred destination. He confirms Montreal hasn't shown any interest, though. Quote, the Canadiens are not among the teams that have contacted my agent. He admits, though, I have no problem playing in such a demanding market with strong pressure. Now, Max Comtois is from Longueuil, so essentially from Montreal, right? And he's spending this offseason in Montreal. Jesse, do you see a potential fit for Max Comtois on this Montreal Canadiens roster?
Well, he's definitely shooting his shot. And you have to think from these comments that he would very much like to play in Montreal. As you mentioned, already here kind of during the summer. You see, he's even working to improve on his speed, which was one of the biggest sore points of his game. So again, something that fits the Montreal Canadiens very well. So through the media, making it very well known to Kent Hughes that he is available, maybe on some sort of prove it type of deal, right? But even though, he does have good size, has shown us a little bit of skill up from time to time, he just hasn't been able to really get over that hump. He had that great 2021 season, but since then, he just hasn't been able to take it to that next level. This last year, only 9 goals, 10 assists. He's playing as many games, and if not more, in this past season than he did in that 2021 season. But still, those points aren't going up with those increase of games, right, as we would kind of expect. Still a young player, but we'd expect to see him kind of grow and develop. And the caveat in all this is, of course, that Anaheim, they're not the best team in the world.
Yeah.
But I would definitely have to say, a hard pass on this one, just because we got so many other young players. We got Alex Newhook to kind of fit that top 9 sort of role. We got a lot of other players as vying, trying to get in somewhere. We need to clear out a little bit of space right now, more than kind of bringing anybody else in. But of course, being a French-Canadian player, he still has a little bit of skill. He scored 7 points in his first 10 NHL games. It's showing he does have some skill, but for me, it's still a no.
Yeah, I mean, look, the idea of Max Comtois from a couple of years ago is like kind of enticing. He was the leading scorer on that terrible, terrible Ducks team, showing is like at one point he was really the only guy who was spurring any offense. So it's, the idea of him is better than the reality. And as we just take a look at the Habs depth chart, just to give you guys some context, like here's the current 4 lines, and this doesn't include Raphael Harvey-Pinard, it doesn't include Michael Pezzetta, it doesn't include Jesse Ullinen, as you assume, like probably Dvorak or Amir or Hoffman. Some of these guys are going to get moved. But you tell me, where does Max Comtois fit? Like, yeah, you just get rid of Yoel Armia, I guess, but you got to give that spot to Raphael Harvey-Pinard. He's really earned it. You're not going to scratch your eye Slafkovsky if you trade Mike Hoffman for nothing, maybe. But Jesse, it's not only that. It's not only the fact that the Habs have no room for this. It's just another reclamation project, which apparently these days are only linked to Montreal and nothing else. It's the fact that he was involved in that 2018 World Junior thing, and we're not going to really talk too much about that, but the results of that investigation have still not come out. And even though Max Comtois has denied any involvement, of course, I just feel like it would be better to wait until, all those results come out before you sign someone who is involved in that. And you never know if that might also play a bit of a role in why he's not continuing with the Ducks. But regardless, let's circle back to him as a player. Like, as a redemption project, I think we've said this before, but just real quick, like, do you think the Habs even need any more of them? Because to me, I feel like at this point, there's just not enough ice time to give to every single one.
No, you need to be very calculated on those type of projects that you are kind of taking on, So it is great when you can do it in the right ways. With Dach, it's worked out, with Newhook, the jury's still out. But just from the style of play that he does, that heart and soul, in a lot of ways, it's a pretty safe bet that he's going to be bringing it every night, but I think, we really need to focus on developing the players that we have already, because the problem with that is you kind of start stretching your resources a little bit thin, right? If you're just trying to pour that much development in so many players, it's sometimes better to have a little bit less players, but put a little bit more focus on them and really nurture them than to just kind of casting a little bit of too wide of a net, I feel, in this situation.
Yeah, I agree completely. So Max Comtois, probably not a future Hab, but very interesting nonetheless. He's an interesting player, so we'll see where he ends up. Topic 2 today. Tomas Plekanec. He's still going, guys. Like, I know he left the NHL. It feels like just yesterday he played his final game as a Hab. We're not going to talk about the stint he had with a certain team in between, but just, I think today, Tomas Plekanec will continue with the Kladno Knights for another season, his 24th in professional hockey. He will be 41 years old in October, and it's not like he's slowing down. Look at his stats. He had 49 points in 52 games last year with Kladno, 53 and 56 the year before. He's getting better. Playing with Brno before, then he went to Kladno, which is, of course, Jaromir Jagr's team, which is crazy because Plekanec has a guy on his team who's 10 years older than him. But Jesse, I understand that Kladno is, not the best team in the world and that league's not the best league in the world, but the fact that Plekanec is still putting up a point per game anywhere in pro hockey at this age is just astonishing.
Right, still rocking the turtleneck.
Yes, sir.
And still scoring goals, which is amazing to see. This is an amazing accomplishment, though, starting in pro hockey at 17 years old, now at 41, still playing, on a team with Jaromir Jagr, another Iron Man of hockey. Mm-hmm. That's just so amazing to see. But again, it's just so nice to see the players that have really taken care of themselves. And there's some players once, that decide, okay, once they're done in the NHL, that maybe they want to get into coaching or maybe business or management. But there are some players like Jagr and like Plekanec who they just want to keep playing, right? And it's amazing to still see him producing at this clip all the same. I wonder if he's kind of doing the same thing as he was with the Habs, still getting on those breakaways, still showing that speed. I don't know, at 41 with those numbers, he might still have it.
Well, he was always in pretty good shape. And, one thing you noticed when Plekanec was playing, he liked to sometimes get in the dirty areas, but his game was quite sustainable. He really was not a reckless player. He was pretty calculated when he was on the ice a lot of the time. And I feel like, even though maybe he had his moments where he wasn't, that can really turn into you having a lengthy career. If you take care of your body, you don't have the most reckless game in the world. And I'm sure Jaromir Jagr, he's taken lessons from the Iron Man himself. It's just pretty cool, right? So this Habs legend is still not done yet. And hey, who knows? If the Habs have a bunch of injuries again this year, they might have to give him a call. Final thing today, Jesse. And all right, you guys are going to love this. Now, full disclosure, this article is from one of the more ridiculous websites ever, NHLTradeRumor.com or something like that. But they posted an article today when I was just scrolling through my Habs feed today, and I saw this come up. Someone linked it on Twitter, and they said, oh, look, this article's talking about whether Carey Price's contract could be traded. So before I show what they said, Jesse, do you see any world where Price's contract gets traded? Because at this point, I just feel like that 10.5 to have, especially in the offseason for most teams, is just too much of a burden, and I feel like Montreal's not willing to give up any kind of asset to get rid of it, and I'd want him just to retire as a Hab anyway. The Habs, I think, are more than happy just to foot the bill of the LTIR, give him a signing bonus every year, and just say, you are sticking with us until the end.
Yeah, there's no way that's going to happen, in my opinion. Our one opportunity with the Phoenix Coyotes, they've kind of turned a corner, I think, in their rebuild, if you want to call it that, retool. They're not taking on any more contracts like this, right? So our options, there's very few teams that do have that cap flexibility. The Chicago Blackhawks are still another one of those teams, but they've been starting to kind of sign up quite a bit of vets on their own to really get to that cap floor and to kind of insulate Connor Bedard a little bit as well. So for me, I don't really see another team doing us this type of favor. Maybe it happens eventually, but just for right now, where the salary cap is as we speak, I wouldn't see the incentive for another team to look out for us in this type of way.
No, and the favor, I'm sure you use it fairly loosely, because the idea of Carey Price, even if he's traded to another team for cap reasons, just sounds horrible to me. I feel like the Habs management understands that he needs to be a Hab through and through till the end, unless they get a crazy offer they can't refuse, and even then you got to question it. But regardless, let me show you what this website suggested. So first of all, they do mention the Coyotes, and then they say they probably won't do it because Price has these $5 million signing bonuses, and they're kind of desperate for money. But look at what they said. Could the Toronto Maple Leafs take on Carey Price contract? Wow. They have deep pockets, and the Leafs are always maxing out their salary cap, and using a $10.5 million LTIR for the Leafs cap strap payroll could help them out tons. First of all, no, it won't, because in the offseason, LTIR does count towards your cap for a chunk of it. Not when the season starts, I understand, but it just completely straps your ability to sign players. And also, the Toronto Maple Leafs, of all teams in the NHL, there's lots of other teams that have money. The Rangers, something like that. Okay, I'm not going to freak out, but like, is that maybe not just the most ridiculous proposition you've ever read? Because I'm struggling to think of anything worse.
It just hurts my heart just to think about it. Like, even though he wouldn't be playing a game, just like you said, Josh, I think Habs management, they realize how important he is. Like, Carey Price is Habs royalty. There is by no means any way that they're ever going to be sending him, to the Leafs, even some sort of figurative, symbolic, getting rid of the contract sort of thing. I think that the Habs do value what he's done, and just the optics of that would just be way too off. They already took Plekanec from us. A couple others no. So I don't see that happening. Hopefully they'll be able to maybe figure out something kind of, in the future. I think Carey Price, though, he gave his body for this team. I think it's only right, that he does get paid. I know different people have different points of view on this. I definitely think he earned every dollar that he has. But I don't think that the Leafs will be the ones to take this contract off of us.
Never in a million years. And if that happened, I don't know what I would do. But luckily, we won't have to worry about that, because that is never going to happen. And on that ridiculous note, that will end this news edition of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, you're still here, leave a like, comment, subscribe. If you're still here and you haven't subscribed, just do it. Why would you not? You watched the whole video. You clearly enjoyed, and we enjoy having you around here. I'm Josh Gosse, for my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.